So we're going to start on our bellies today in the belly down version of Shavasana. There are a handful of ways to make this super duper comfortable, but I'll offer a handful of options, but you'll just adjust based on what your body is looking for and needs today. So first things first, I find if you notice that the front line of your pelvis feels sort of bony, or the bony parts of your pelvis are pushing into the floor, spread out a blanket underneath where your hips are about to land. And then there's lots of different ways to create a sort of chest and head support as you come down on your belly. So I have half-size blocks which can work to catch the chest. Another option is to take small towels and roll them just underneath your chest-shoulder junction. So that's the next bit. And then with another towel or a blanket, you can roll it to create a sort of face cradle, as if you were on a massage table. So I like to think of it as a U shape. And we'll see how that works. So, some folks like to have something underneath the tops of the feet. You can roll up another blanket or towel underneath. I'm going to use my bolster today since it's already there, just to catch the tops of my feet. So belly down, chest shoulder junction support. And then you can use the face cradle in one of two ways. You can turn the U upside down and rest your forehead straight down into the U shape if it's firm enough. If it's not firm enough, you can add more firm things or just put something underneath your forehead so that you're able to breathe. And we're treating this as an early Shavasana. So rest your forehead down and close your eyes. Sometimes folks ask if their hands should be up or down, and that's very much a matter of personal preference. So if you would prefer to have your hands back by your hips, that's okay. But do make sure that the block or whatever you have underneath your chest-shoulder junction is keeping your arms from rolling forward and down into the ground. So it helps to set your shoulder blades gently back. Well, once you find the shape, I'm going to sit up so that you'll be able to hear me more easily. But once you find this belly down shape, take a moment to notice the contact points that you have with the floor, or with the contact points that you have with your points of support. So something underneath your forehead. And we'll take the next 5 breaths to reflect on the feeling or sensation of what's at your forehead and pressing down. So your forehead is your third eye, or the seat of your intuition. But if your mind is very active, it could also be a place where you develop or hold tension right across the rim of your brow. So as you're here, if you need a reminder to soften in that area, you can gently let your head rock from side to side as we're settling into this posture. And sometimes it feels like you're shaking your head no, but sometimes you set your forehead and roll. You can experiment with which variation feels better. But you'll take a breath in. And you'll take a breath out. as I call different parts of the body out as we are here, if there's a part that you want to stay with longer, this goes for this pose and any other shape that we do tonight. If there's a part you'd like to stay with a little longer, please know that you can. If something feels really active or present, stay. As you feel called, and take a breath. And notice the points of contact here at what I like to think of as your sort of suspenders in your upper chest. So you'll breathe, and the suspenders are supported by your blocks or whatever you're using today. Maybe it's rolled up towels. And because of the support that you have there, you might notice that you actually feel something, not just at the point of contact with the supports, the blocks or rolled up towels, but also at the back line of your body in the same area. So the shoulder blades or the back the muscles that flank the spine. This particular point of contact might feel more present in your throat, or that seat of your ability to voice and speak your truth, or it might feel more present in your heart space. So if there's love or grief or any of these wholehearted emotions that might be coming up for you too, you can let yourself focus in there. Stay here with your mind's eye, or bring your awareness to this next point, which is your belly. Because your belly down, there are a handful of chakras that might be resonant as you expand your belly. But it might also be that rather than even paying attention to your chakras, you become aware of your low spine, which can be sensitive. And I know that it is in a handful of you. So as you breathe, notice where your breath goes. Maybe you can physically feel your back line expand a little bit. Because when you breathe in and your belly is down, your back line has to lift because of the support of the front line on the ground. And it might be that you focus on that expansion, or it might be that you observe the points of contact in your navel, or the chakra that's just below your rib cage. So these points between the pelvis, the belly, and the upper belly have to do with grounding, sense of self. And as you breathe, observe whatever comes up there. Or where you observe sensation. Take a breath in. And then a breath out. Time to move, and again, if you need to move or stay longer, you can. You'll press down into your hands and come up. If you still have a blanket across your mat, guide your knees onto the blanket. And if you have the ability to, if it's a sturdy yoga blanket, or if you have a towel, you can roll the bottom so it creates a little bit of support underneath your ankles. And you can add more support if your body needs it. Now, that might be too much. You'll adjust to find the right amount for your body. And we're not going to be sitting back like this, but as you sit up, you can check that there's some support there. We're coming into a very supported variation of child's pose. So you'll take your knees wide and grab a hold of a bolster. You can pull the bolster between your thighs, but you want to create a ramp for your spine. Some folks like to have the bolster just flat, but you'll notice that what that does is create a rounded lift in my mid-back. So give your spine support, even if it's the smallest amount of lift. Your elbows can come down. If it's challenging to breathe, you can repurpose this face cradle and rest your forehead on it. If you're someone that does a lot of texting or messaging or using of your phone, and you know that your head is pulling forward a lot, use the supports that you have to help reset your spine so that the support under your head, maybe underneath your chin, helps to keep the back line of your neck really long. And if the bolster being flat right between your legs doesn't give you the support you need, add more height. So you can add a block underneath the part that's closest to you, and then even lift up the part that's a little farther away. when you feel called to come out of the shape, you'll press down into your hands and sit yourself up. You can shift sideways and we'll come into ramped twist or bolster twist. If there's something underneath the part of the bolster that's closest to you, take it out. And if the bolster is feeling or looking too high, you can take a block out or add height depending on what your body needs when you twist. I'll just shift this away a little bit. So you can keep the blanket right next to the bolster so that your right outer hip has something supportive. And if your body needs some extra support for low back discomfort, or if your knees or bones touching are not comfortable, you can thread a blanket between your knees. You'll turn to face the bolster and bring your chest down. Your head can turn in whatever direction feels most comfortable. Once you find the shape, let your breath come. And let your breath go. This is a pose that we might hold for between 6 and 10 minutes. So if you're coming into the shape and thinking, oh, it's a little uncomfortable, but I can hang out there, pause and make a change. So I'm even noticing in myself that I make that I have to make that mental shift of, well, right now I need a little bit more support, or I want it to feel just a little bit more comfortable. Maybe that means adding more firmness under the bolster. If your left elbow is floating, you might put something under it. So just looking for ways to make the posture as comfortable as it can be, so your body can be as much at ease as possible. have a few more minutes in this shape, but you might notice that the longer you're in a pose, particularly a restorative one, the farther away the outside world sounds and feels. There's a withdrawing of the senses. And take a deep breath in. And then a full breath out. If you're content where you are, stay. If you're ready to transition, we're just going to switch sides, so we're not going to make it overly complicated. You'll press down into your hands, and you can either turn around or slide your knees under. If you need to move props around for additional support, you can take care to make that happen. But you'll come down onto your second side or onto your second twist. So your left hip is against the bolster. Your chest and belly turn towards the bolster. And your head can either look away or in the same direction as your knees. Give yourself permission to adjust if you need. This side might feel different. We'll take a breath in here. And then a breath out. If you find that you're not quite ready to move, stay. If you are ready to move, come up slowly. We'll be transitioning towards ramp shape or easy inversion. If you'd like to grab a drink or something on the way, something to cover your eyes, or even something to cover your feet like socks, you can grab something, anything you need to make the shape more cozy. Back your bum up against the edge of the bolster. And you have a couple of choices with your feet if you're coming into this ramp shape with me. You can bring the soles of your feet together and your knees out to the side and put stuff underneath your knees. Or you can extend your legs out. Up to you. When you're ready, you'll lean yourself back. If your elbows don't touch the ground, it might be nice to place rolled up blankets or rolled up towels underneath them. And even if your legs are extended, giving a little gentle support underneath the knees can feel helpful. And finally, if your head and neck need extra cushion, always add it in. can stay here for the next few minutes. As you're ready, we'll join together in a seated posture and I'll talk you through a meditation, but you're welcome to stay here for the meditation itself. If you'd like to come to seated, bring the soles of your feet to the ground first. You can press down into your elbows or take a hold of the backs of your thighs, whatever will let you come up most comfortably. And you'll find a comfortable seat. You can sit either with your knees forward and perhaps some blocks underneath your knees, or you can sit with your ankles crossed. Whatever allows you to feel most upright through your spine. Now, at our class's beginning, we were belly down with our forehead pressing into the floor, and we worked our way from these upper chakras down. Now, finding the uprightness through the spine, if you're seated, begins with a solid foundation through your bum. A sense of groundedness through your pelvis. So you can feel into your sit bones and whatever contacts you have with the ground. As you observe your breath, honor the context with which you ground your body and ground your mind, which is to say, when you walk, what's touching the ground? When you're feeling rooted, where does that come from? Take a few breaths to feel the steadiness of your foundation. Let your breath come and your breath go. From the solidity of your pelvis, the foundation of lifting, observe the next place where you feel like you might arch or round or sink. For many of us, that's the lower or even mid-belly. You can find a little bit of stability. With the expansion of breath. These pivoting or undulation points along the spine have stories about our sense of self. Pause as you find that sense of support in your home of movement. Malleability. With the next 2 or 3 breaths, if you notice that you're pitching forward, gently tilt back so that as we're ready to lift and focus on the next segment of spine, if you notice that you're pitching forward, bring the rib cage back over the hips. Your rib cage contains so many of your vital organs, but particularly the lungs and the heart. So as you're here, maybe you can feel the expansion of breath, but also get quiet enough in the physical body to notice places where your heartbeat is most resonant. And that might not be in your chest. Sometimes when I'm sitting with my feet tucked under me, I actually feel it in my legs. So let your mind search your body. For your heartbeat. As you find it, maybe you don't, but let your shoulders again stack over your hips with your ribs over your hips as well. And this time we'll lengthen this back line of the neck segment of the spine, which might relate to the chin coming forward and back. Excuse me. So gently draw your head ever so slightly back in space, like you're hugging your chin back, but also pulling the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. And bringing in as much length through the spine as you can. Observe your breath. Maybe as we're allowing the rootedness of the spine to support the mind, the intuition, and this connection to, let's say, deeper mysteries and simultaneously the universe as a whole. You might have a rush of sensation, thoughts, feelings. Just notice what comes up. Even if it's nothing. If you're already seated, stay. If you're coming from your ramped shape, begin to make your way to seated so we can close our time together collectively. So from your ramp shape, you'll bring your feet to the floor and either press into your arms or hug up through your thighs and find a comfortable seat. You'll get tall, breathe in and out. Let your palms come together at center chest and connect to whatever it is or was that got you onto your mat. We'll take a deep bow of acknowledgement to that place in ourselves, but also to the awareness that it exists in each and every one of us that is in practice tonight. May all beings be peaceful, including that very tired little baby that you might be able